Hello everyone, it's Becca from Becca Books and Bujo, and today I am sharing all of the nonfiction books, the plays, and the poetry collections on my physical TBR. Welcome to the penultimate video where I am sharing all of the books on my physical shelves that I have not read. So today is nonfiction, plays, poetry collections. There are quite a few of them. I think I have about 18 books here in front of me. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 22. I lied. Oh, that's it. 18 of them are nonfiction. 2 of them are plays. 2 of them are poetry collections. So we are going to start with the nonfiction and kind of by category a little bit, I guess, more of like the narrative nonfictions to start off with, then the memoirs, then the help yourself ones or learn from ones. What are those called? I don't know. And then we will get to the poetry collections and the plays. So, in the first one, we're going to start off with, has actually been shelved on the wrong shelf for a long time because I thought it was nonfiction, but I was wrong. So, the first is actually a Christian fiction. It's called The Shack by William Paul Young. This has gained fame recently in the last couple of years when it came out as a movie. So this one wrestles with the question of where is God in a world so filled with unspeakable pain. We specifically look at a family after one of their young daughters is brutally murdered. So sorry, the first book in my nonfiction shelves is not nonfiction. Just, I have no other Christian fiction, I guess, so it's in a category all on its own. That's The Shack. Now let's move on to some more narrative nonfiction. The first is Behind the Beautiful Forevers by Catherine Boo. Again, this is a narrative nonfiction about families striving toward a better life in Mumbai, India. Another narrative nonfiction that my husband actually got, but I'm very excited to read, is Escape from the Deep, a true story of courage and survival during World War II by Alex Kershaw. So in this one, a World War II submarine was downed by one of its own torpedoes and rescued by Japanese patrol. So then they were kept in an interrogation camp until the end of the war. This is a very story-like retelling of the event, and my husband, I think, read it in 2 days, which he's a slow reader, and so for him to read it that quickly, I know I will just fly through it. Moving on to more of the memoir side of nonfiction, we have Modern Romance by Aziz Ansari. If you don't recognize him from the cover, this is Tom Haverford in Parks and Recreation. I love this character in Parks and Rec, and so I'm excited to see what he has to write in Modern Romance. This one is all about finding love in our current time, plus Ansari's humor shining through. So this should be a fun one to read. Another memoir on my shelves is The Liars Club by Mary Karr. This is a funny, devastating, and haunting memoir of a woman who grew up in a refinery town in East Texas. She looks back on her life with a painter for a mother and an alcoholic as a father. I don't know who Mary Karr is, but wow, a holographic USA Olympics Together We Win bookmark. That's a score. This is from the 2010 Olympic Winter Games. In this book, I think I picked this up for probably super cheap in a library book sale. So that's The Liars Club. Then we have Orange is the New Black by Piper Kerman. Piper is incarcerated for trafficking drugs a decade ago, and so now she is telling us about her time in prison. And the Netflix show is loosely based on this story. So if you don't know about Orange is the New Black, it's a great, hilarious TV show. Little raunchy, but very good. I'm excited to see what this book has in store. Then I have Is Everyone Hanging Out With Me and Other Concerns by Mindy Kaling. This is a memoir of a comedian who gained her fame from The Office. Oh, and it looks like there are pictures interspersed throughout. I love that, seeing actors and actresses in their younger years. So this should be hilarious. Another Parks and Rec author, we have Paddle Your Own Canoe, One Man's Fundamentals for Delicious Living. This one, I believe, has some memoir aspects, but then also some tips about living a good life by Nick Offerman. I think I originally bought this one for my husband, but I would also like to read it too because I love Nick Offerman and I love Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec. Next up, I have Priest Daddy by Patricia Lockwood. This is a memoir of a woman who has a married Catholic priest as a father. I thought I would relate to this one a little bit because my dad is a pastor, so we might have some things in common. And I think last in the memoir category is Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl, written by Harriet A. Jacobs. And this was one I had to read sections of for a class in college, but never read the entire thing. So I really do want to get to all of it because I remember her story was just very enticing and she was a great writer. Would you look at that? I bought this book on July 26th, 2016. Cool. Anyway, this is just one girl's account of being held in slavery. So I do remember some of the stories being very, very difficult to get through, but nevertheless, an important story to read and one person's account on slavery. Okay, now we're moving into just kind of like general nonfiction kind of stories about things. So, the first is There Was and There Was Not, A Journey Through Hate and Possibility in Turkey, Armenia, and Beyond by Malene Toumani. This was one that incoming first years read during my senior year at college when I worked in the bookshop, and so I was seeing it everywhere. I felt like I should read it, and here we are, almost 5 years later, and I have not read it. But this one is about a young Armenian American who goes to Turkey in a love thine enemy experiment that becomes a transformative reflection on how we use and abuse our personal histories. Did I read that straight from Goodreads? You betcha. Next up is Eat, Pray, Love, A Woman's Search for Everything Across Italy, India, and Indonesia by Elizabeth Gilbert. This is one woman's journey and pursuit of worldly pleasure, spiritual devotion, and what she ultimately really wanted out of life. This has been turned into a film, and I'm excited to read about her journey. Then last in these kind of like stories, sorry, needing to readjust, I have 3 Cups of Tea, One Man's Mission to Promote Peace, One School at a Time by Greg Mortensen and David Oliver Rellin. So this is a uplifting story of a real-life Indiana Jones and his humanitarian campaign to use education to combat terrorism in the Taliban's backyard. Okay, now we're moving into the books where we're kind of like supposed to learn something. It's maybe a little bit, I don't know, more educationally wrote. I don't know. Well, you'll see. So the first one we have is Mom Jeans, Inside the New Science of Our Ancient Maternal Instinct by Abigail Tucker. This was a gift from my mother-in-law, so thank you, Andrea. And this is a part scientific odyssey, part memoir, in which our author weaves the latest research with personal experiences to create a portrait of motherhood. So I am a mom of 2 young kids, and I think that this could be very pertinent to my life. Then we have The Case for Grace, A Journalist Explores the Evidence of Transformed Lives by Lee Strobel. I believe this was a gift from my college flute professor, so thank you, Carol. And this focuses on God's transforming work in the lives of people today. And the last 2 in this nonfiction category are ones that maybe were geared toward my previous job a little bit more, but I still have them and I'm still interested in seeing what they have to offer to my life today. So anyway, the first is Made Known Loved, Developing LGBTQ Inclusive Youth Ministry by Ross Murray. So in my previous occupation, I was a youth director and I attended a conference at which one of the breakout sessions was led by author Ross Murray. And while this may not pertain to my current work, I feel like it could have pertinent information about life and being inclusive in all different aspects of my life. So I'm excited to read this one and see what Ross has to say about being inclusive to all people and especially the LGBTQ youth community. And similarly, the next one is kind of that youth ministry aspect. We have How to Hug a Hedgehog, 12 Keys for Connecting with Teens by Brad Wilcox and Jarek Robbins. like I said, this is also maybe geared toward my previous job, but eventually I will have teenagers in my household, so this could be a good read for me. My husband read it. He works with teenagers as a teacher, and so I am interested to see how I could use some of these tactics in parenting. Okay, those are the nonfiction. Let's move into poetry collections first. And you know, one is actually just a poem. So that is The Hill We Climb, an inaugural poem for the country by Amanda Gorman. This is the written version of the poem Amanda Gorman performed at Joe Biden's inauguration in 2019. Who am I? In 2021. Woof. Okay, so I watched her share this poem that day, but I am looking forward to reading it and letting the words sink in a little bit more in this different context. Then, now this is a collection. We have Robert Frost's Poems by Robert Frost. This is a collection of more than 100 poems, and I am interested to see if I actually like poetry. And you know, Robert Frost is a big name in poetry, so we'll give it a go. Lastly, I have 2 plays here to talk about. I'm pretty sure my husband and I acquired these over our years of either high school or college English. So we have Death of a Salesman by Arthur Miller. In this one, our main character has been a salesman for 34 years, and at 60, he doesn't really feel like he has a future to dream about. So he looks back at the disappointments of his past. Sounds kind of sad, but it's a classic. And then we have, also by Arthur Miller, All My Sons. In this one, we have 2 main characters who are partners in a machine shop during the war. And then this machine shop turned out defective airplane parts, which caused the deaths of many men. And so one of the partners went to prison while the other escaped punishment and went on to make lots of money. So that is about their stories. Those are the 22 nonfiction poetry collection plays that I have on my physical shelves. Let me know down below in the comments which of these I should prioritize. Which should I read first? Which should I bump to the top of my TBR list? I want to hear from you and see which ones of these you liked, and also let me know maybe which ones might not be worth my time. It'll be interesting to see what you have to say. Thank you so much for watching. Like this video on your way out. Consider subscribing to my channel if you want to see more content from me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!